You're probably surprised to see another Paul Plays in Portugal video pop up on YouTube, but in the last episode of the series I had a comment from Samuel Larson who said I should holiday 10 years into the future to see how little old Portimonense get on without me in charge of the club. So I thought that was a good idea. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to holiday 10 years into the future. I've already holidayed 1 year into the future. We'll have a look at this in a second, but we got to listen and watch the introduction to this series for one last time. Beautiful. Now, for those of you interested, I have put the save file in the description below. It's the save file from before I resign as manager. So if you want to continue as me in charge of Portimonense, you can do, or you can resign me and start as a new manager of Portimonense. I have already shared this file around to a couple people, and they said you can sign Lopez for £2.8 million, and there's got quite a reasonable amount of money to spend in that pre-season before another season in the Champions League, so maybe go and sign him. There's also the possibility of a new stadium being built as well, I believe. So we'll have a look at Portimonense in a second. As you can see, I have resigned as manager. Just thought I'd show you just my statistics at the end of the series. Basically, you can see we played 198 games. I won 120 of them. That's a 60% win percentage. That is very impressive, I must say. Our goal difference was plus 187 as well. It really was quite a remarkable 4 seasons with this club, and I've really enjoyed this journey. Looking forward to my next series, which will be out at the end of March. I'm going away to the Lake District from the 12th until the 18th or 19th, something like that. So there's not going to be many videos that week. There's a possibility of me preparing a couple before I go, but you'll have to watch out for that. I'll turn off my face then so I don't get in the way of anything. But as you can see, this is the first season. I thought we'd take a look at the first season. I'm not going to look at every single season in detail because that'd get a bit boring. But it's important to look at this first season to see the drop-off from when I left to now. They managed to finish 5th, which is okay. I think that's probably where they were predicted to finish if we have a quick look at the season preview, if it lets me. No, 4th. We were expected to finish above Braga, but unfortunately we only managed to finish 5th with the new manager in charge. But it was comfortably ahead of 6th place, qualifying for the Europa League. But Porto, long way ahead. Benfica seem to have returned to the second best team in Portugal as well. So that's a little bit of a shame. We've now got Felipe Gouveia in charge, a Portuguese 49-year-old. I just checked to see there wasn't any other... Oh, there has been, actually. The manager was sacked. Miguel Cardoso was in charge first of all. But unfortunately, he was sacked after 253 days in February. Caretaker manager came in, and for the last 112 days, we've had this guy in charge of the club. It's going to be difficult for anyone to emulate what I managed. 2 league wins, remember, 4 cups. What a brilliant record I have. Let's just have a quick look at the records, actually. Franco Lopez is got the most league goals for the club on this save. I don't think he's moved to Portimonense. No, he's actually moved on loan again, but to Sassuolo this time in Italy. Is he going to forever be loaned out by River Plate and never actually be sold or play for them? He's actually been capped by Argentina though. He's obviously a very good player, but strangely enough, he's not really being played. And when was he capped? Must be quite recently. It was 2000. It was, in fact, it would have been not long after I left Portimonense. He was capped. So that's very impressive to be capped by Argentina, because we know that they're a quality team. Let's just have a quick look to see who they signed. Loads of transfers. £7.25 million spent. That's, I think that was the budget, but they actually did sell £9.5 million worth of players. Nakajima went to Marseille. He's finally left the club. He's valued at £24 million now. It just shows the massive difference between Portugal and some of the other top leagues in Europe. Although Porto and Benfica fall into that. They're big teams, they can pay big wages, but we just couldn't pay these wages because he's earning 68k a week at Marseille. It was only like don't know, 14, 15k by the end of the series. So it just shows how good he is, how good he really is. And if he had moved earlier, perhaps he could have gone on to even bigger things. Had a good first season with Marseille as well, 7.09, so that's not bad going. Who else was sold? Bruno Lamas went to Montpellier. He's obviously worth a bit more as well now. Only played one league game though. Rui Costa went out on loan. Marcel went out on loan. Interesting, because he was obviously my main defensive midfielder for a long time. He went to Vitória de Setúbal. Fernando, our right back, he was a bit of calamitous, went to Braga. Really interesting stuff. A couple of youngsters went out as well. Coming into the team, biggest signing was Jan Carlos, coming from Brazil. Can't see his attributes at all because I've got attribute masking on, so we don't know how good he is, unfortunately. Giuseppe Paz. In fact, I've got the in-game editor, haven't I? I believe I should. Yeah, there we go. That's how good he is. Who else came in? Giuseppe Pizzella came from Udinese. Let's just have a quick look at him. He's a wing back. I guess he's replaced Fernando. He's all right. So there's a few signings in there. Is this Paulinho? No, different Paulinho. Right back from Toulouse. Oh, if they'd signed actual Paulinho, that would have been fantastic. But unfortunately not. This is the team then. Let's just have a quick look to see who scored the most goals. It was, this guy. Serbian international Nicholas Dojilikovic. Probably murdered that pronunciation. I apologise. But that's how good Nicola is. He was a top scorer, but only 11 goals compared to Lopez last season with 34 goals. Just shows the massive drop off. I want to see how they got on in the Champions League. They actually won their first game against Galatasaray, lost against Inter, then lost against Arsenal, beat Galatasaray again, lost against Inter, and where's the other Arsenal match? Oh, they lost twice against Inter. So they would have dropped into the Europa League just like I did, but they got knocked out in the first knockout round by Man City. Arsenal went on to win the Europa League last year, by the way, so we did lose against the eventual winners, which isn't too bad going. Champions League-wise, PSG and Barcelona, the last couple winners, as you can see there. It wasn't the greatest season, let's be honest. Knocked out in the third round of the Taça da Liga. Taça de Portugal knocked out in the fourth round by Maritimo. That really good end to the season. Look at that, under the new manager. Won the last 8 games. So they were facing a mid-table finish until that point. If we just have a look, actually, we can see. Yeah, look at that rise. Look. Close to the relegation zone early on, mid-table for most of the season, basically until the last 8 games, and suddenly going from 10th all the way up to a respectable 5th place. Anyway, let's holiday a few more years into the future and see how Portimonense are getting on. So I've holidayed all the way until June 2026. The club are currently without a manager, as you can see there. There's been a lot of change in players. Still a 4-star reputation continental team though, so still going strongly. And as you can see, that 5th place finish has been improved upon every single year. 4th, 3rd, and then 3rd again. So I feel like I've turned them into a top 4/3 team in Portugal. It's just that first season, because I suddenly left, there was a lot of upheaval and they finished 5th and had a poor season. But since then, they've gone back. They've improved the game. I suppose the Champions League money will have improved the team. I did forget to look at the facilities, didn't I? So I want to look at the new stadium. Here it is. Oh, why can it be named after me? I mean, I know Pessoa is a legend of the club, but come on. I led us to 2 league titles. I've never had a stadium named after me on Football Manager. I think you have to be at a club a lot longer for that to happen. I'm not on the Legends list. I'm not on the Icons list. That's a little bit harsh, I think, because they've got a backroom staff guy on there, a club staff, and the chairman, but not a manager that won 2 league titles, won the double winners last season. I know I resigned, but I don't know. It does feel a bit hard. The stadium is named after Pessoa, which is just fantastic. It's fantastic, but I wish it was named after me. I'm a little bit jealous there. It was built, so it was actually only finished last year, so we wouldn't have been able to see it anyway in that first season. So it was finished in 2025, and it's a 17,437 seater stadium, which is great. We can't seem to click on it. I thought there was a way to click on it, but never mind. Affiliated clubs. I think that hasn't really changed over the years. I never bothered with affiliated clubs, really. Let's have a look at the recent managers then. So, Gouveia did last for over 4 years, longer than me, but he didn't actually manage to win anything. But still a reasonably successful time, finishing third in the last 2 seasons. Let's just go back and have a look at the transfers in the last couple of years. So they spent £8.25 million that season after. The biggest signing was this chap, a regen from Argentina, who doesn't actually play for Portimonense anymore. Look at that. It just didn't work out for him, did it? He was sold back to Argentina after a couple of years. So yeah, not great there. Another Ferreira. A different Ferreira. There's a lot of Ferreiras around, aren't there? Let's see who was sold. Vinicius was sold for £9.5 million to Porto. So he obviously was... blimey. He was a good player. This clearly proves I found a wonder kid. He obviously had an iffy start to his Portimonense career. We know that. But these average ratings were fine over the 4 seasons, looking at it. He was a good player. Went to Porto for £9.5 million. If only Man City had bought him from Portimonense for £44.5 million. But hopefully they had a good sell-on fee thing here. And he's turned into a very good defender for Manchester City, who did actually win the league in his first season there. He's a good player. Look at him. What a defender he is. He's been capped 29 times by Brazil as well. He's worth £60 million, earning £185k a week. I unearthed a wonder kid on this save, and that's pretty pleasing. If I'd continued the save, basically if you continue the save, try and hold on to him, and if you can't, sell him for basically 40 million at least, because that's what he should be going for. He shouldn't be going to Porto in the meantime and then being sold on. I suppose Man City are unlikely to buy a player from Portimonense without him playing for a bigger team like Porto first. But that is really interesting. Luciano was sold for 1.3 million to Villarreal, but then he moved to Inter for 6 million. And this is another good player. Moved to Dortmund for £21 million. It just shows I found 2 very good Brazilians. Unfortunately, Luciano didn't really do it for me. But at the age of 26, he has been capped by Brazil 7 times. He's worth £42.5 million. So he's obviously a very good player as well. He just didn't quite work out for me because he was very young at the time. But some of you are questioning him and Vinicius, but it just shows they have turned out to be exceptional players. And I thought they would, but it just took a couple more years, really. Posignoloo was also sold this season. He went back home to Brazil, as you can see there. In fact, most of the players, Rui Costa went to Firenze. Most of the players have left at this point. Marcel was sold. So, yeah, it's a very different looking team. Got different goalkeepers, different defenders. There's no one there I recognise. Who is left? Is anyone left? Bruno Tabata's still there at the age of 29. That's brilliant. And he's still doing all right. Nothing amazing. Still doing all right for Portimonense. Worth £4.8 million, earning 20k a week now. But that is it. That is it. And that's quite sad to see that all the old players have now left. I don't think there's anyone else. I don't think I've missed anyone. Bruno Tabata is the last man standing. Let's just have a quick look at the last few seasons then to see how they got on. So we'll go back. This is the season they finished 5th. Season after that, 4th place, 54 points though. But that was actually less than the previous season. But it was enough to finish 4th place. Porto ran away with it, as you can see. That Benfica finally managed to win the league, with Portimonense finishing 3rd, only 5 points behind Porto this season, a long way ahead of 4th place Braga. And then another 3rd place finish with 69 points. Porto returning to the top of the table. And this season, so 3rd 3 seasons in a row, in fact. So that's really impressive. 67 points, long way behind 1st and 2nd. Will we see them win another league title? Let's find out. And the answer to that question is yes. In the 2028 season, I've holiday 2 more seasons, Portimonense are champions of Portugal once again without me in charge. It's the 3rd ever league title. That is quite remarkable. But maybe not. I've turned them into a team that can compete at the top, despite not paying the wages that Porto and Benfica pay. That is pretty brilliant. This chap has led them to glory. Nelio Santos, another Portuguese manager, has led them to another league title. This is the key player, Francisco Pereira, and he's only earning £17,500 a week, so that's going to be a lot less than the likes of Porto and Benfica are paying. But he is on loan from Monaco, I must add. But he is the key player. He's the new Lopez, 22 years old. He's actually quite similar to Lopez, looking at him there. But that is really good. After finishing third for 4 seasons in a row, they've finally managed to win the league again. Wow, there's a player called Steve. Top goal scorer in the league for Porto. That is brilliant. Steve, what a name. Yeah, moving on. Let's have a look at the team then. Let's have a look to see who they've managed to sign. In fact, manager history, Nello Santos has been in charge now for coming up to 2 years. If we look at the transfer history, last year they spent £12.75 million. Biggest signing was actually another Ferreira for £7.5 million. Portuguese regen. Can't really, in fact we can see, can't we? That's how good he is right now. Looks a decent attacking midfielder. A few other players coming in. Jimenez for £2.5 million. A few other signings, and going out the team, the players that we don't know anything about now. Bruno Tabata might still be around though. We'll have a look in a second. This season, £23 million spent, about £29 million going out of the team. So Zapata sold for a lot of money. He's a Peruvian international goalkeeper, and he was sold to Benfica for a lot of money, as you can see there. Biggest signing coming into the team was, once again, from the South America. Luis Cabrera is the man that came in, attacking midfield on the right-hand side. So, is Bruno Tabata still here? He is, at the age of 31. He is still here. He got 9 goals and 8 assists this season, worth £10.75 million, still earning 20k a week. His value's gone up as he's got older, which is a bit strange. But a very good season this year. Might be because they won the league. In fact, we need to see how they've done in Champions League in recent years. How did they do this year? They got to the first knockout round but lost against Man City again. That's a bit unfortunate, but they have got to the Champions League last few years. Knocked out in the best place playoff though previously. Europa League. They did get through to the group stage but knocked out in the first knockout by Shakhtar. It does look like they've been knocked out in the best place playoff every single year looking at this, and then dropped into the Europa League and then knocked out in the first knockout round of the Europa League. So no one seems to have improved upon my semi-final performance. Apart from this year, Champions League first knockout round, to be fair. So that's not bad. In fact, they did get through to the group stage a few years ago as well, and then dropped into the Europa League where they were knocked out in the first knockout round again. But yeah, this year's the most successful year, if we just go forwards. League champions, Champions League first knockout round, knocked out by Man City, bit unlucky there. They won the final, the Taça de Portugal, so that is their league and cup double once again. So this guy has emulated me. He's managed to achieve what I achieved, and as you can see, he's won one league title and 2 cups. He's won the Taça de Liga, which I was unable to win, and the Taça de Portugal this season. So yeah, he's done pretty well in his 2 years in charge, to be fair. So we're going to holiday until the end of the 10 seasons and just see how he's managed to get on. See if he's managed to beat my record. I just want to see what he's playing. He's playing a 4-2-3-1, but without the withdrawn central midfielder into defensive midfield. So quite similar to what I was playing. So we're at the end of the 10-year period. As you can see, Portugal doing pretty well. They're 4th in the world rankings. They were first for a while as well. So they possibly might have managed to win something recently. Just going to go to look at what they've managed to... Oh, they did win the 2028 European Championships. They won the most recent Euros. Not bad going at all. As you can see, Portimonense, the 3rd best team in Portugal now, ahead of Sporting, ahead of Braga. That's pretty impressive. But let's have a look to see if they've managed to win another league title. No, they haven't. As you can see, Benfica won it twice in a row, then Porto. Portimonense have finished 3rd every single season. So 3rd is the most common place for Portimonense since I left. They do tend to qualify for the Champions League, although this year they haven't, because I guess the coefficient has changed and they only managed to qualify for the Europa League this season. But it's been a pretty impressive 10 seasons for Portimonense. I was worried that they would completely drop off and become a mid-table team, or if not worse, become a relegation threatened team, but that hasn't happened. They've sustained themselves at the top of Portuguese football. They've managed to win one more league title, Nuno Manta is now in charge of the team. We've had 2 different managers since Santos left. He resigned not long after the last point, actually, so it maybe he moved on to bigger and better things. Manager of Portugal. There we go. He did move on to bigger and better things and won the Euros, of course. Miguel Herrera then came in. He managed to win 1 cup, which was the Taça de Portugal once again. So overall, Taça de Portugal, Portimonense have been very successful in that since the start of this save. 1, 2, 3, 4 wins in this competition. Runners up twice as well. Really good stuff in this competition. But he left. He decided to become manager of Watford before Nuno Manta came in the last year and managed to finish 3rd. Of course, 60% win record as well, so that's pretty good going. Let's look at the transfer history then in the last few years. Not much money spent 3 years ago, and then £17.75 million spent the next season, but they did sell £32 million worth of players. And Bruno Tabata finally left for £3 million. He's now 34 years old, playing back in his homeland. Legend. It's great that he stayed there for such a long period of time. That's really good to see. Portimonense have a really good transfer policy. They seem to bring in players and then sell them for good fees to strong teams. Like Adrian Lugazumon, sold to Bayern Munich, only bought for £2.1 million. Lots of profit there. So they've obviously got a very good transfer policy. I just want to have a quick look at if Bruno Tabata is on this list, because he was here for so long, but he's not. Bruno Tabata, not involved. That's really sad to see. I'm not involved. That's sad to see. But there we go. Can't have everything, can you, in life? These are the facilities. It's now been increased to 19,021, but it's reduced. So I assume they're going to pump up the attendance once again, which is really good to see. It's good that Portimonense have grown over the years. In fact, look, 5,162 seat expansion set to be complete in November, so that will go up to about 26,000, I think. So that is really, really impressive. I'm pleased for them. Now, if you download that save file, let me know how you get on. Can you go on and completely dominate Portugal? Of course, they're doing very well on this, but I feel like if you're in charge and keeping hold of players, managing to sign Lopez, keeping hold of Vinicius, Luciano, some of those Brazilian wonder kids that we signed, a couple of good youngsters as well in the youth academy, then I reckon you can go on and dominate Portugal. Possibly win a Europa League and then maybe a Champions League. That's what my challenge to you is. See if you can go on and do that with this team. This is the squad as it stands. Top goal scorer this year, 28 goals. That's not bad. 21-year-old. He looks really good. Really good player. And he's actually at Portimonense. He signed for £3.5 million. That's a bargain once again. He'll probably be sold on, to be honest. But obviously a very good player. That's good to see. I'm glad they've got some quality players. I do want to have a look at Franco Lopez to see what happened to him. He's probably quite old now, in fact. He's 33 years old. He never was capped by Argentina again, unfortunately. And he became a journeyman. It's unfortunate. He did actually start to play in Argentina because he moved to Boca Juniors, then moved over to Brazil, and then to Mexico, and back to Argentina. But he never was bought by a European team, and that's a shame because he was a really good player for me. Didn't work out for him at Sassuolo, as you can see there. Maybe he was played out position or just didn't fit their system, but he never managed to emulate his form that he had with me. But I think you can continue to, you can turn him into a really good Argentina international if you sign Lopez for Portimonense and play him. Yeah, he's going to be a quality player. Paulinho has become a scout, by the way. He had an interesting career. He was eventually let go by Stade Rennais. It didn't work for him. He was in their reserves, and he was on such high wages, no one wanted to buy him. He eventually moved back to Brazil on a free, signed for 900k, 475k. His career just... Oh, blimey, what happened here? Average rating? That's wrong. 1.2, but he got a goal and 3 assists. Maybe it's so good that it's messed up the average rating. That should be like a 10, because he got a goal and 3 assists in his only ever game that season. That's really quite strange. Wellington was sold in 2024, for those of you wondering, for £185,000. Retired as a player at the age of 36, but this was his career path after leaving Portimonense. He moved back to Brazil, What on earth? This is wrong. 261 goals in 53 games. I don't think that happened in one season. I very much doubt that. But yeah, that's that. I've not seen that before. That's a weird glitch. Unless he actually did score that many goals, and I applaud him if he did do that. What happened to Stanley? Where is Stanley? I've not seen him anywhere. He must be somewhere. Here he is. He retired at the age of 37. He's 40 years old now. He would be anyway. But as you can see, he left. He did actually leave at the end of that first season, 2022. Moved to Portimonense in Portugal, then to Naval, and then to Portimonense. He still scored goals, not as prolific as he was for us. That's a 1 in 3 record. Really not bad going. And I think we'll end on that with the legend that is Stanley Arurum. I just called him Stanley. We'll end on that note. Thank you for watching this series. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it. Next series is going to be based in Scotland. That will be starting at the end of March when I'm back from the Lake District. If you can leave a like on this video, that'd be very much appreciated. Like I said, the save file is in the description below if you want to play on from the point that I finished. Have fun and let me know how you get on. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I've got a Facebook page. You'll be able to get hold of me somehow. Until next time, enjoy FM18. I'll see you very soon.